Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. And today I want to talk a little bit about trying to see an idea through to the end that you might not particularly love too much. Right? So a few months ago I went to Vilnius in Lithuania and I had a lovely time, and while I was there I wrote a short story about this guy who lives in a hotel, a real penthouse suite, everything was really luxurious. And it kind of shows the pattern of how he got there, and then it kind of reveals X, Y, and Z. I kind of want to release the short story in a collection of short stories at some point, and that's the idea, to release it as a collection of short stories. So this is one, and now I'm here in Vienna, and I wanted to write another short story. So I got myself started, right? Straight away, I checked into the hotel and I immediately started writing the book. And what I did is began with the first sort of chapter. I got maybe 2 pages into it, and it started off, there was this guy and he was sunbathing somewhere in Barcelona, and some kids came up to him and started teasing him and making fun of him. And then he went back into the hotel and he was just sort of moping around, being a bit miserable. And the idea of the book was comparison is the thief of joy. And because I realized I haven't been enjoying this Vienna holiday quite as much as the Vilnius holiday. And I knew that pretty much straight away when I came here to Vienna, that I wasn't quite as enjoying it as much, because I was comparing it to something. And that's where comparison is the thief of joy is coming from. Quite literally, I'm losing joy because I'm sitting there going, this holiday had X, Y, and Z, but this one has, A, B, and C. So I was kind of getting myself down over that, and the book was meant to kind of translate my feelings into something tangible, right? And I liked the idea, and I was talking to my girlfriend about the idea of the book and where I could go from it, because she asked what the book was about, and I told her, and we were sort of shooting some ideas back and forth, and she had a really good idea that this man is actually in his 50s or something like that, and this is in the present day, and it's about all of his holidays coming up to this point, and he's realizing he's an old man now and he can't quite do all the things that he used to do, and he's struggling with that idea, and he doesn't like the fact that he can't do the things that he used to do when he was in his 20s, So it would go back to, a lad's holiday in 1990 when he would have been about 20, or, some old holiday when he was a kid, and then leading up to, having kids, and then, seeing the kids grow up and go old and fly the nest and all that sort of stuff, and seeing him just sort of remain entrapped in a past that he can no longer go to, but he's convinced that that was the ultimate way of life instead of trying to forge a new path for himself. And that was what the idea of the book was meant to be. I really liked her idea for it, and I wanted to keep writing more of it, so I got a bit of a burst of inspiration. I wrote another half page, and then I was writing more of it, and I realized this book isn't as good as the one I wrote in Vilnius. The story and the prose aren't as interesting. I'm not enjoying writing it nearly as much as I enjoyed writing that book, short story. So why should I force it through to completion just because I started it, right? Because I was thinking to myself, I've started it, so I better finish it, almost like Mastermind. I've started, so I'll finish. And I've always had that attitude. If I start and dedicate myself to a project, I have to see it through to the end. I mean, recently I've just released a film called A Sheffield Psychedelic that I spent 5 years working on, right? And everything that I've ever done, I've always been super hyper fixated on getting it done, seen through to the end. And the only time I don't is when it's literally drained me of all my energy that I can no longer continue with the project, right? That's the only time where it's ever sort of, I've given up on something that I've dedicated myself to. And I thought, why should I, marry this idea of this short story and stress my holiday out over trying to write this book that I'm not enjoying writing just to get it finished, when it's probably not, if I'm not enjoying writing it and the prose aren't as good as the stuff in Vilnius, it's obviously not going to be as good a book. So why should I even go to all that effort just to make something that's not even going to be as good as the thing that I was doing before that I enjoyed? Sometimes, you can't force lightning to be captured in a bottle. Yeah, you can put all the lightning rods all around, and you can put a tinfoil hat on yourself, and you can sit under a tree just holding big sticks of iron all day, but at the end of the day, you can't capture lightning in a bottle constantly. They say that it's more likely that you win the lottery than you get struck by lightning twice, right? So I got struck by lightning once with the first short story, and I'm trying to strike myself with lightning again. And if you try to do something like that, you're not going to succeed. I think these things need to come from a place of naturalism. So I decided to stop writing the book. And it's a shame because I really liked the idea to begin with. So I wrote a little bit where he's in his 50s and he's in Barcelona, he's at the hotel and he's lying in the shade, and it's all just kind of a bit of a inner headpiece where he's kind of talking about, it's all just bollocks this, he's looking at a gorgeous sunset and he calls it a bog standard sunset. That was going to be the name of the book, of the short story, Bog Standard Sunset. And the kids were meant to be like coming up to him and sort of making fun of him, how he's sort of miserable and all this sort of stuff. And it was meant to show that he was always kind of like this, and that the thing that he wants to go back to wasn't necessarily that happy either. And what he needs to do is change from within and evolve. And that was the idea of the book. And I just thought I can't dedicate myself to it. The reason I can't dedicate myself to it is because I'm not enjoying writing it. And that's fine. You don't have to see through an idea to completion if you haven't married it yet. For instance, with that Sheffield psychedelic film that I talked about, I went out and I filmed it. I spent £4,000+ of my own money in like 2 months, just to get it done. I spent every penny I ever had. I had to take out everything I had, including loans, just to get it done, right? So that's something that I'd married and I could not put down. I could not stop that. I didn't have a choice there, right? But with this book, I realized I had a choice. I didn't need to repeat the mistakes that I'd made with previous projects where I put something on my plate and decide, well, I have to finish it, just because, even though the meal doesn't taste that good, I have to finish it because I made it and I put the effort into cooking it, right? I decided I didn't need to do that. And you don't need to do that. You don't need to see something through to the end if it's not, sparking something from within you. And if you haven't already spent loads and loads of money and loads of resources to get it done. I mean, the most that I spent to get that book done, that short story, was probably about 4 hours worth of work. I got maybe 2.5 pages done, something like that, not a vast amount. And I was reading through it, and I realised that the prose wasn't as inspired, the verbiage, right, wasn't particularly interesting, and maybe I could have turned that around to be something. But I realised it's better to leave it. It's better that I instead invest my time into recharging so that I can put my energy towards something that I'm actually truly passionate about, rather than trying to zap every single bit of power that I have. It'd be like if I tried to charge my phone to 3% and then go out and make an hour-long phone call and come back and charge my phone to 3% and then go out and make another hour-long phone call. In that time, I could have easily got my phone charged to about 30%, and then I could have gone out all day. Because my phone's quite good. I can go out for like a day and it will only use up about 25% battery, right? So I'm decent, right? But I just sort of thought, I don't need to finish this book, because even if I had finished it, I might have, gotten to the end of this collection of short stories. I wanted it to be 10 short stories, each about 5, 6, 7,000 words each. And I might have gotten through and just thought, nah, cut that one out. It's not that good. So I like the idea of writing a collection of short stories, and I've often started, I've got an awful lot of drafts of Google Docs or whatever, or Microsoft Word, where it's that much, like a couple paragraphs of sort of someone going, yeah, I'm walking around here not feeling it, That's what a lot of my books seem to come down to, my short stories seem to come down to. It's some twat moping around some tropical landscape just going, And at the moment, I feel like I'm a bit of a twat wandering around an exotic landscape going, because I'm here in Vienna, I'm on day 8, and I'm going home in a couple of days, and I haven't massively enjoyed myself. And I didn't really want to just write the exact thing that's going on. In Vilnius, I was having the time of my life, and the book was about a miserable bastard. And that contrast it sparked something in me, right? It did something interesting, but this was almost just like writing a diary in the third person. So it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth my time. And I didn't get a vast amount of pleasure out of writing it. I felt like I was forcing myself to do it. And every time I tried to, throw in a new element, it just didn't do anything. It didn't really spark any emotion within me. So I kind of just thought, why should I put this effort into something that I'm not going to get anything back out of, that I'm probably end up cutting from the collection of short stories anyway, right? So why bother? Why not just take this time to just be myself and relax, and just try and gain some energy so that tomorrow I can write a better short story. You know, you don't have to see an idea through to the end just because you started it. If you haven't invested like time and other people's time and money and other people's money into it, you don't have any need to finish it other than your own brain telling you that it needs to be done for the sake of your own pleasure, right? And the pleasure of getting it done rather than the pleasure of doing it well. So I decided to put it down. And that's okay. You don't have to finish every single thing that you start. What's important is that you make things that are worthwhile, right? And obviously if you put everything down, that's not good either, right? You need to obviously see things through to completion, but don't do that at the risk of putting down other things that could have been more worth your time, right? I think about that Sheffield psychedelic film that I spent all that time doing and think what I could have done in that time instead. All the videos I could have made for this channel, or all the, you know, fantastic sort of ideas that I could have gotten out there. I could have dedicated myself more to music. I could have been, you know, someone that I'm not now. And it could have been good. But at the end of the day, what's done is done. And I invested that time into a Sheffield psychedelic and I got it done. And with this, I didn't want to repeat that same mistake, even if it was on a smaller scale. Right? Even if it was on a smaller scale, I didn't want to repeat that same mistake. I wanted to make things that mean something to me, rather than just trying to get something out there that sounds like it should mean something. So, yeah, that's pretty much the idea that I wanted to convey with this video, is that book, which was an interesting idea that I loved to begin with, that I quickly fell out of love for, isn't something that needs to be seen through to the end just because I loved it once. So, yeah, that's going to be it from me. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you managed to get something out of it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you have any drafts of short stories that you started and maybe got a few paragraphs in? Just copy paste it into the comments and we can see what people's writing styles are like and see, you know, the nuggets of ideas that never got to be because you instead spent that time doing something else, maybe something more worthwhile. Yeah. So hope you have a good rest of the day. Take care. Bye-bye.